For 10 years the war had dragged on before the gates of Troy. It had begun with a quarrel over honor, love, and pride. Paris of Troy carrying Helen from Sparta, and the Greek kings binding themselves by oath to bring her back. Men had died by the Scamander River and beneath the Scaean Gate. Heroes had risen and fallen. Hector, the shield of Troy, slain by Achilles. Achilles himself, cut down by fate at the very height of his strength. And yet the city still stood. Its towers gleamed in the sun, and its people endured. Odysseus of Ithaca, a man never bested in guile, proposed that the army abandon the plain and leave behind a single offering, a vast horse made of wood, taller than any engine of war they had built before. Its ribs were sealed tight with pegs, its flanks smooth and polished. Inside its hollow belly, chosen warriors would hide, men hardened by long war, willing to wager their lives in silence and darkness. The rest of the army would sail away to Tenedos, just beyond the horizon, and wait. The horse, they said, was an offering to Athena, goddess of wisdom and war. The Greeks had wronged her, the story would go, and this gift was meant to appease her anger and ensure their safe return home. The horse was made too large, they would claim, for the Trojans to haul inside their walls. If Troy left it outside, Athena's favor would remain with the Greeks. If Troy brought it within, the goddess might turn her strength against them. When dawn rose over the plain, the Trojans looked out from their towers and saw emptiness. The huts of the Greeks were burned. Their ships were gone. Only the horse stood where the armies had once clashed. Cautiously, the Trojans came out of the gates. Some believed the war was finally over. Others feared trickery, for they had learned long ago that the Greeks were never simple in defeat. They circled the horse, marveling at its size and workmanship. Some struck its flanks with spears, and the wood rang hollow, though no one yet understood what that sound might mean. Soon a Greek was found nearby, left behind and bound. His name was Sinon. Brought before the Trojan leaders, he wept and told his tale. Odysseus, he said, had been his enemy. The Greeks, desperate to leave Troy at last, had chosen him as a sacrifice to Athena, but he had escaped. The horse, he explained, was built large on purpose, too large to be brought inside the city, so that Troy could not claim the goddess's favor. If the Trojans were foolish enough to pull it within their walls, Athena herself would grant them victory over Greece. Sinon spoke with the practiced misery of a man trained in deception. He told of cruelty and ritual, of fear and betrayal, and his words found eager ground in Trojan hearts long weary of war. Still, doubt lingered. Laocoon, a priest of Poseidon, warned his people. He hurled his spear into the horse's side, and it quivered where it struck. "Whatever it is," he cried, "I fear the Greeks even when they bear gifts." His voice carried over the plain, and for a moment the fate of Troy seemed to hang in the balance. Then fate itself intervened. From the sea came two vast serpents, their coils shining, their eyes blazing. They surged onto the shore and crushed Laocoon and his two sons in their folds. The people watched in horror as the priest struggled and fell. When the serpents vanished again into the deep, the Trojans took it as a sign. Athena had judged Laocoon for his impiety. The horse must indeed be sacred. So they broke their own walls. With ropes and rollers they dragged the horse through the gates of Troy. Though it scraped the stones and caught on the threshold, they forced it inside and set it upon the citadel. Then, Believing the war finished at last, they feasted. Wine flowed freely, songs rose into the night, and the watch grew careless. Troy slept. Inside the horse, the chosen warriors waited. Odysseus was there, and Menelaus, Diomedes, and others whose names were already sung by poets. They stood cramped in darkness, weapons bound close, breath held when voices passed nearby. Some later said that Helen herself walked around the horse, laying her hands upon its sides and calling out in the voices of the warriors' wives, testing whether any would answer. If so, Troy would have been saved. But none spoke. Odysseus himself, it was said, held another man's mouth shut until the danger passed. At last the city lay silent. When the moon sank and the guards slept, Sinon crept to the horse and opened the hidden hatch. One by one the warriors dropped to the ground. They killed the sentries at the gate and threw them open. From the sea the Greek ships returned, their oars beating the dark water. The army poured into Troy. Then came fire and steel. The Greeks spread through the streets, cutting down men in their sleep, dragging others from their homes. Houses burned, and the smoke rose thick over the city that had stood so long against them. Old men were slain at their hearths. Children cried and were silenced. Women were taken captive, their fates bound now to foreign shores. King Priam was killed at his own altar. Cassandra was dragged from Athena's temple. Andromache and Hecuba were led away. Troy, once rich and proud, was reduced to embers before the sun rose. Yet not all perished. Aeneas, guided by the gods, carried his aged father on his shoulders and led his young son by the hand. Bearing the household gods of Troy, he fled the burning city and would wander far, destined for another land and another future. Thus, even in ruin, Troy did not vanish entirely from the world. When dawn came, the Greeks stood among the ashes of their victory. The war was over, but its cost was written in blood. Soon they would learn that the gods do not forgive easily, and that cunning, like strength, carries its own punishment. Storms, shipwrecks, and wandering would follow them home. As for the horse, it became a story told whenever Greeks and Trojans spoke of the past. Not merely a trick of war, but a lesson carved into memory. That cities fall not only to force, but to pride. Not only to enemies at the gate, but to deception welcomed within the walls. And so the tale endured, passed from singer to singer, a warning bound in wood and shadow, how Troy, unbroken by 10 years of war, was undone in a single night by a gift it chose to trust.